So we're going to be changing a few things. I have a new pulley with a new bearing in it. This one has a little bit of play, so we're going to change that. There's a shaft down in here. We're going to be changing the bearings out of that, so we got to take the AC compressor off, the belt off, and a bunch of other stuff. Because this guy has a little bit of play in it, and we'll spin it when it comes off. And we're going to be replacing bearings in the alternator too. This is the one bearing that goes on the fan. We'll get to that later on. And then these guys are the alternator bearings. And to change those, we have a few different things. We got some pullers. We're going to need these for the alternator. And we got a ball joint press. We're going to need that to do the fan pulley, or fan pulley bearing. So we're going to remove the belt and a bunch of other stuff. So there's 4 bolts. And we got to loosen that. Bolts on the back side. So in this era of Jeep, the power steering pump is what tensions the belt. So you don't have to take it right off. You just got to loosen it off so you can get the belt off. I don't know if you want to come to the other side. If you can. So there's 2 bolts on the back side of this bracket. There's one up here, one down where the wrench is. So loosen those guys off. Loosen this guy off. And there's a nut. At the bottom, there's a little tensioner down there. I don't know if you can see my thumb's pointing on it. So we gotta loosen off the nut on the front. You can see how it moves. And the nice thing about this style is that everything kind of uses the same sockets. You can pretty much tear this truck apart with a 13, 14, 15, 18, 19, and the 21. That's it. That's all you need. Anything from the engine, the outside, anywhere. This guy, you just turn this bolt out and that adjusts the tensioner on the bottom of the power steering pump and allows it to pivot. And you can just take the belt off. That guy. Now I don't need it all the way off, but I'll take it so it's out of my way. Yeah, good enough. So one of the things that I'll do once I have the belt off, take it off and out of the way. First, since it's off, inspect it. This one's about a year old, so I don't expect to see anything. And you're looking for any cracks or pitting or anything like that. And it all looks good. There's nothing really standing out. You will get little shiny spots, and that's just little tiny rocks. They get embedded into the style of belt. It's just the nature of it. I don't think I've ever seen one that didn't have those. And then the next thing is spin everything. See if it makes a noise. This guy doesn't, but I'm going to replace it anyway. That guy does, but it's not bad. They usually do. But this one, I don't know if you can hear that. Not supposed to make that noise. And the other one we're going to do is the alternator. And that's the one you could hear the other day when I spun it. So the same thing, we go down. You hear that? How loud that is? I don't know if you can hear that.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah. We're going to be taking this guy out too. Normally I joke about it because every Haynes manual you're ever going to read, the first thing they're going to tell you to do is disconnect the negative battery terminal. Doesn't matter what you're doing. If you read through the books, they all say that. But in this case, because I'm pulling the alternator off, I want to disconnect it because the cables are going to be loose. So next we're going to undo the AC pump, get that out of the way. So if you look, these bolts go all the way through this little mounting piece. You see how rusty it is? And the reason for that is these little holes, and they go all the way around. I don't know why they did that, but it lets water, dirt, and corrosion get in there because this is a galvanized steel bolt and that's aluminum, so they react with one another. And I don't know why they did that, but they did. So what often happens, these bolts either get seized in there or they snap trying to take them out. These ones have been not too long ago, but recent enough. We're gonna take this and just pull it out of the way. It's good for hoses and stuff. Just kink them, it's fine. Next, I want to take off the clutch fan. And these, I always hate doing them. You have to find a wrench big enough that you can get in and jam it so it doesn't move. What I usually do is I go through and I loosen all the bolts first, and then I spin them off. That way it just then you're not fighting loose parts or anything. The nice thing about this is a lot of these bolts are standard thread. So if you lose one, you don't have to panic.
Not like my car.
You can just go to the regular bolt supply and buy a new bolt. And on this guy, sometimes you gotta tap them. But this one's just gonna wiggle off, which will be nice. Nice and wiggly. That's a clutch fan. And it's still good. So you can test this guy by spinning this. And this one shouldn't. It should stop almost instantly when it's cold. But as you turn it more and it warms up, it becomes freer. This is a temperature actuated fan. And when it warms up, or the heat from the rad warms this guy up and it turns it. And what it does is it locks this clutch up, so it spins at the same rate of the engine. But when it's cold, it's allowed to pre-spin. It's supposed to help with fuel economy, so you're not dragging this big weight. So I'm going to take off this idler pulley. This has been the topic of many fights for me. I always blow these bearings out. The other thing you want to look for is any wear on these pulleys. They usually will get a groove in them. Oh yeah, here, see?
That doesn't sound good.
Dodge. And $700 for this bracket to replace this bearing. Many hours of research, I discovered the actual part number for just the bearing. Now, here's the thing. What would you rather do? $700 for a bracket you may or may not be able to get. The last time I looked at it, they said they would have to phone around to see if they could track one down. Or $35 for the bearing. I have the tools to change it out myself, but if you don't, you're still only going to pay about $100 and something max to have a shop change it out for you. So, I don't know. Sounds like a better deal to change the bearing, to be honest. There's only a couple of, you just have to cut that one a little bit shorter because it's too long. But that's, again, $700 for a whole new bracket, or, you know, $300 max in parts and labor. So there's a bolt that goes through the bottom with a nut on the back. And it's always a pain to get to. I might have to pull the alternator out first. You can probably see that a lot easier than I can.
Not really. No.
Well, I can't see it at all, so.
Me either.
See, the older style, the alternator was a little bit lower down, so it gave you more clearance. This one, they raised it up a bit. So what we gotta do is press that guy out. So we have to pull this hub off this way, and then that goes that way. I don't think it's 5/8. Probably metric. Probably 15 actually. Probably is a 15. Yeah, it's too. How do your jackets get ripped? Oh, I don't know.
This is why you can't have nice things.
Can anybody have nice things? You probably don't have to take this bracket off. Probably fight with it if you really wanted to. Is that a plug-in on that one?
Oh.
Let's go. This part would probably be easier if I laid on the ground.
Do you want in?
Remember, anything in the shop is a hammer, except the hammer, because you can never find it. Even though I know where it is, but I only have a big one. I don't have a small one. Look at. I guess.
This is that loud one?
No.
Oh.
But this.
Why does this one need to be replaced?
Because I can hear the bearings. That's one of them.
Good job.
This one kind of sucks though, because it's like held on with nuts and bolts, and it's annoying. So we are actually going to take it completely apart. And then we're gonna clean the brushes and everything. That's why there are good places and bad places to put nuts and bolts.
Designated drop-off zone.
It's under your hand.
Wait, this one?
Yeah. You can't say there's a designated drop-off zone for that.
It's dropping, and it's designated by gravity.
Designated or dictated?
Do you want me to like lift the hose up?
No. like I said, just keep it set up. Did you know this is the same alternator that's in Toyotas? It's the same alternator that's in your car, actually.
The exact same one?
Same brand. The casing will be different, but the internals will be the same. Okay, so if you listen to this backside, hear that?
Sounds like a tractor.
It's not supposed to do that. So we are going to replace this bearing with this one. And if you look, there's a bit of a length difference thing going on here. So we're going to have to actually cut that, which isn't that bad. But first, we're going to need this.
Yeah! Is it gonna like shoot out?
No.
It's out. I think. Can I just like pull it?
You can try.
This motherfucker.
And then this one. The only downside when you get the bearing is that it's longer on both sides. That the front side you just cut it to the same length as the old one, which isn't that big of a deal because you're just cutting off like a little bit. You're just cutting that off. That's it. On the back side, again, it's longer, but it doesn't really matter because it just pokes out here and there's nothing there. Almost want to heat that up with a torch. At such a close tolerance, it'll expand it.
Bunny, your tail's in the shot. Nub. Your nub is in the shot. Thank you. Oh, it's still in the shot.